If you thought that the craziest feature-related news will be well behind us at this point in 2024, you would be wrong, and so was I. A few hours ago, Corp, aka the company that is one of the fastest growing overseas non-Japanese VTuber companies, announced that they have been acquired by Brave Group US. If you're not familiar with Brave Group, trust me, you are. They're the company behind Fee4 Mirai, Feespo, Globy. So it definitely seems like these people know their VTuber stuff. So it isn't a very far-fetched idea that they would acquire Idol. But why was Idol sold in the first place? As just shy of a year ago, there was such an upheaval within the VTuber community about how much VTubers actually get from the money they earn and how much the company gets, how much goes to merch, etc, etc. And Idol made a point of being like, hey, we want to be transparent because we want to be talent first and making sure that they get the majority of the cut, but also be transparent about it towards the masses for people that want to audition, but also towards the fans, which at the time seemed like a huge deal because they even shared a full graph on how the talent's money was being split. 60% directly, 15% basically in the piggy bank that's just for VTuber and business related stuff, and 25% to Idol. So indirectly, the talent would get 75% of all of their earnings, which is a giant number. And rightfully so, people have already questioned many times, like, how is that sustainable? But then people were like, well, Idol has been doing really, really well for themselves. So maybe there are income streams that we're not completely aware of. Like, we just see how many memberships people are getting per stream or the super chats. So I guess we just stopped questioning it and just celebrated that a company like that could exist. But then Idol made the announcement that they were being bought up by Brave Group US. So to me, that raises the question, was their previous split sustainable? Did something else happen completely unrelated to the split? Or is this just a sign that VTuber agencies aren't as profitable as they thought they were? And I want to iterate that is kind of speculation, but those are the first thoughts when I first heard the news. Like, what happened? Is this a bad sign for the VTuber industry? Or is this just an Idol thing that they messed up? Because I would love to see VTuber agencies continuing to fund their talents appropriately, and they surely deserve to get their cut. But if that means a company is not profitable and other issues arise, maybe that's not worth it? I don't know. So their statement reads, announcement from Idol VTuber agency. Dear fans, 3 years ago, Idol was founded with minimal resources and a vision to support talents and maintain transparency with our community, which they actually did regarding the contracts. I don't know if they actually made their full talent contract transparent by the end of the day, because I never heard anything of it, so I might have missed it, but that was their goal when they first shared this revenue split like graph, and it has been almost a year at this point. Over the years, we have grown and expanded our talent roster, maintaining the same level of support and operational efficiency has become increasingly challenging. To address these challenges and continue our mission, we are excited to announce that Idol has been acquired by Brave Group US. This strategic move will allow us to continue supporting our talents with more resources and operational efficiency. Like I said, Brave Group has plenty of money, so if Idol was having money issues, but not necessarily operational issues, being bought up by someone who does have the money is not a bad choice. Brave Group US shares our passion for VTubing and is committed to our original vision. Together, we believe we can elevate Idol to new heights. And here is the best portion of this entire thing. Talents will have the option to continue with Brave Group under the new structure or to become indies with their existing characters and social media accounts. To me, that reads that people that currently are under Idol have the ability to just take their character and move on and make it their own channel. Like, they can keep everything they've worked on, keep their IP, and become indies moving forward, which is kind of huge. Because it's not as if Idol is completely disbanding, they have been bought. They're bought by another VTuber company, or at least one that has several sub-companies that focus completely on VTubers as an agency. So with past things happening with VTubers like moving on, graduating from an agency, or other agencies disbanding, it doesn't happen that often that people will get to keep whatever they build and move on to indie with that. But it's also entirely possible that it has something to do with like legality or contract, because people signed their contracts with Idol, which, if I remember correctly, was based in Israel because they have been acquired. So that's at least one step up, because people have been very angry at Idol for still being based in Israel, especially now the conflict there has escalated. Free Palestine, by the way. But I'm willing to believe that this is from a pure respect to the talents, that they don't have to go to a different company with different values, contracts, expectants, etc., because it's a different company after all. People audition for Idol for a reason. They wanted to join Idol for a reason. And I don't think you can really force people to just go over in that regard as a talent. Because I vaguely remember from at least from Nijisanji that they have said that the VTubers are contractors and not employees. And I think when a company changes ownership, that contractors are not obligated to go with. But then again, them being able to keep their characters is something surprising still. But I don't know the details of the contract. It might just be in there somewhere. Brave Group and Idol are aware of past operational issues and are dedicated to resolving them and preventing future occurrences. Which might be in reference to, but not limited to, something that came up very recently, where freelancers like audio mixers, audio engineers, and even artists have come out to say that they were either not paid, they were paid very late, and it was a really big hassle to get what they were due. I'm not gonna read this entire document. I will leave a link to this tweet in the description down below if you're interested in it. But the important thing to focus on is Idol's response. We apologize for the poor experience and the stress it has caused. We are committed to improving and will address this in an upcoming announcement. In the meantime, if anyone has an unpaid invoice, please email this address and we'll handle it ASAP. Which they've kind of addressed it. And if this was the announcement they were referring to, yeah, they have announced that there are issues, but not this issue. And I assume there are multiple things and maybe they're still cooking up an announcement for that, but this had to go out first. And people have pointed out that it is a bit sloppy that this has been a few weeks ago at this point, and they never did a follow-up. To be fair, also never saw any follow-ups from people affected on what was happening. We might never know from the specific people, but I do hope that Idol will still make a statement about this specific thing or other specific things, because even if Idol is bought by new people, it's still something that will carry on hanging on their brand. And as they are continuing as a group of the sorts, whether they're merging in with an existing Brave Group US or the talents are moving on to something else, there will still be people working with Idol with these same talents. So people want clarity on that before they want to work with that again, which is completely fair. Because if you're a hire artist and you are a company, then you should pay them at the very least and respect them enough to explain yourself and what happened and give clarification to not only those artists but also the fans of the company, because VTubers and the whole VTuber agency, they rest on the back of artists, so we should respect them with some basic dignity, right? But I also choose to believe that they are still working on this. It was just that this new acquisition had to be finalized first and go out first before they could go into stuff like this. We will provide a clear timeline for the delivery of all previously unshipped merchandise. Any items that cannot be shipped will be refunded. Additionally, if any freelance has issues with an open invoice prior to the acquisition, please reach out directly to payments, etc., etc. Which is just a rehashing of the statement we saw that was already out for a few weeks, so we didn't have an additional thing. It was just a repeat of something we already knew. So I don't count this as the statement that we're referring to. But whatever is going to happen with that, I think that will still come, or at least I hope so. We understand that this is a significant change and we appreciate your patience and continued support as we navigate this exciting new chapter. Please look forward to a follow-up statement in the coming weeks with more detailed information. Thank you for being part of our community. Sincerely, Idol. I think in that follow-up statement, we will hear more about the exact nature of how Idol will exist within Brave Group US, because currently Brave Group US is managing V4 Mirai, and whether Idol will stay its own thing like V4 Mirai is or merge into V4 Mirai, that is currently still unclear. Talents themselves are still like leaving it in the air what they're deciding. I assume most of them have already decided or at least have a feeling of what they're going to do, but obviously they cannot speak about it until everything is official and official statements are made, because this is a huge thing. It's a big company with a lot of fans and a lot of talents, and honestly I think it's also kind of scary for everyone involved, because your employer suddenly is up in the air. You don't know what's gonna happen, so I think we'll just have to wait and see for that. The now ex-CEO of Idol, Avil Basin, has also made a statement from his own personal account. Dear Idol fans and followers, I'd like to announce that I will be stepping down as CEO of Idol and passing the wand to Brave Group. It feels surreal to say goodbye to something that has been such a big part of my life, and it's time for a new chapter for both Idol and me. When I founded Idol, it was all about giving amazing amazing creators the spotlight they deserve and challenging what VTuber agencies should be. Looking back, I'm amazed at how far we've come and grateful for every moment. I wish the best of luck to Brave Group, and I'm genuinely excited for what this means for Idol. They're just as passionate and committed to taking our original vision to the next level, and I trust them to lead Idol into a promising future. To everyone who's been part of this journey, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your support during the highs and the lows kept us going. As I move on, I take with me not just memories, but invaluable experience and lessons that I will cherish forever. I can't wait to see how Idol grows and evolves. Here's to new beginnings, continued success, and maybe our paths cross again someday. With all my thanks, Aviel Basin. Even though there have been problems regarding Idol and people were differing opinions and some things were a bit more problematic than others, I do think that his vision for VTuber agencies and how he wanted Idol to be different has worked out and created something refreshing into like the agency sphere. Because for a long time you had Hololive and Nijisanji who were mostly based in Japan. Then you had Bishoujo, who had a completely different structure. It was based in the US, and Idol kind of bridged that gap with a more traditional VTuber agency structure, but a more free feeling to it. I feel like that the Idol girls were as close to indies as a agency VTuber could get. That is not Bishoujo, because I still feel like Bishoujo is a completely different kind of agency. It is more like an indie plus company. And then there's also a more official statement with numbers and more of the business stuff from the Brave Group CEO. I will leave a link to this in the description as well, which I don't think is really that interesting to the average VTuber fan, but if you want to dig into the details, it is here. It exists. You can look into it. But then I have a more important question. We know that the Idol girls are allowed to continue as indies with their current IP, or at least that's how I read into it. And I feel bad for Encore, who just joined Idol. Two of them were indies, and I don't know, they might continue to become indies again. But what about Idol Gen 3? Like, they were announced June 1st, which is 2 months ago at the point of filming this. And like, usually it's very quick between an announcement and an actual debut. And though Idol has historically been a bit slower than that we're used to from like Hololive and Ichisanshi, which is like few days, this is still very long, right? What happened to them? Did they fall into acquisition hell? Are they still debuting? Are there gonna be a full new wave into the new structure? I really hope we're gonna get some like information about that, because now everyone's a bit worried, because everyone was very excited for this like entire generation. So I hope that's gonna be part of their additional statements. But considering that this has been their pinned tweet since the announcement of this wave, even after the announcement of the acquisition by Brave Group, I still have hope that this wave is gonna debut in some form of another at some point in time. Maybe not all 5, but we also don't know how it works with their contracts, because they technically haven't debuted yet and what that means for like their obligations and stuff. But I think in due time we will learn. I think this is about everything that is currently public knowledge that is free to talk about. I think the only thing to add to it is the leader's thread, where he also goes over what happened with the transparency and that maybe their goal of being a friendly corporation while undercutting themselves might have done them in. But then also touching on that there are countless things going on behind the scene, and whether it's like a big mistake that they have made that just made them really vulnerable and was better to just sell instead of like going fully bankrupt and having to disband, or that they systematically undercut themselves, be a nice agency, and eventually they realize this is no longer profitable. Full transparency, high split gate contracts, but also problems with growth, merch issues, and failing to pay artists with due diligence. There are also things that are happening on the same scale. And there are also other potential aspects to consider. Idol Corp being founded in Israel, so they're dealing with that, but also the economic reasons, like economic issues that are currently happening in Israel because of the war, not having a strong enough foundation for the 20 plus members across 3 scenes. They had a Hebrew branch, an EM branch, and a Spanish branch. As far as I know, the Hebrew branch has fully come into the EN one with the re-debuts of Genesis, 2 of the original members, and that Gen 3 probably got fucked over in the process. For the time being, I'm just gonna await the full statement they promised they're going to make, which I hope will also address the whole thing with them not paying artists, and then take it from there. I hope this video informed you a little bit without having to scour over Twitter and understand what the hell is happening. And honestly, this is still a basic understanding from it. There are people that probably know a lot more. My friend Evanito made a whole video on it on his channel, which I'll also link in the description down below, and maybe he can give you a slightly different insight with more information information. And yeah, for the future, this is a crazy change. And I don't think it's really precedented with the VTuber market. But hey, someone had to be the first, right? We're playing soccer with VTubers at this point. But one had to be the first time. And I think of all of them, Idol being it is not terrible. And them being acquired by Brave Group is also not a terrible thing. I think these two are going together very well. And I trust in the future and I trust in the talents to make the choices right for them. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. And next video will just be VTuber lore again or something else related to VTubers that is hopefully a bit better news. This isn't entirely bad news. It's not positive either. It's just, wow, this happened. See you guys in the next one.